take it faith or spirituality in a broader sense. So what we think the food system, how we think the community, how we think university community engagement, what different issues that we can think about and how we can develop that.
ARC was set up to act as a kind of a broker between the faiths and secular organisations such as environmental groups. It's true to say that food goes to the core of our relationship as individuals with the earth. It's a product of the earth that we take inside ourselves every time we eat, and if we're lucky we eat 3 times a day. Food also plays a huge role in the spiritual life, the spiritual practice of faith. You just have to look at the Christian faith, where actually the act of breaking bread and drinking wine is at the heart of Christian worship. And the same is true in many other faiths. In Judaism, in Islam, there are strict dietary rules that are very much part of the faith. In India, Sikh Gurdwaras feed 30 million people a day as part of their daily practice. And for some faith groups, there are rules about not eating living creatures, about vegetarianism. But I think for many of us, in a way, food, particularly in the developed world, food has become something we just take for granted. We have lost a sense of the sacred in food. We have lost the sense that is at the heart of all spiritual traditions, which is that food is a gift of the divine, it's a gift of creation, and that we should treat it with reverence and honour because it is a gift of God, if that's how you define the divine. So Faith and Food is an initiative that is trying to encourage people of faith and institutions of faith to honour their values in the food they eat.
And of course what's happening now in UK and European countries and beginning in other well-to-do countries, consumers are demanding that animals should have a better quality of life. And some of the fast developing countries like China, for example, are installing the very systems that we're beginning to get rid of. And that's all very understandable. China's coming out of a great state of poverty, and people for the first time in the cities can afford to eat meat. And the first thing that all societies do is get more money is to add meat to their diet, it seems. And it's only after a while you start thinking, well, actually, how is this animal real? And there are people in China already thinking about that, and a lot of groups in China already campaigning for better conditions for animals. Why is this associated with religion? Well, I think all religions regard animals as living creatures. I know Islam says that communities like you, that all sorts of, basic recognition that they're creatures of intelligence, creatures who can suffer. And because we control the lives of farm animals in a way we don't perhaps control the lives of wild animals, at least not so much, we have a kind of duty to see that the lives they lead are decent lives, that they can have some joy in their lives and are not just sort of miserable units of production. They're ticking the box and they, a nice watch in the factory for a nice profit. So compassion well farming would like all farmers to be humane farmers that keep their animals in decent conditions, and we think governments should support that, and that society and all of us can support that behind the products. If we're not vegetarian or vegan, then private products that may cost a little bit more, but maybe eating a little bit less, but I'm paying the same. So instead of eating really cheap chicken 7 days a week, maybe you buy free-range chicken, which costs a good bit more, but you eat it and use all the chicken and eat it maybe only 3 days in that week. So there's something that we can all get involved in and doing something about.
So the food justice program is basically supporting organizations in the South to battle politically and economically and socially the industrialized model of production of food, distribution and consumption. So for us it's really important to establish the link between what we do, what we eat, and how we produce. And how that relates to the North and the South, how we link the communities in different parts of the world without being isolated, but also without being connected to the trade as the world traders want us to be. And that's really important to us because that links us to many initiatives in the South that they are giving us to change the industrialized model of production, of food production, and that's the food sovereignty. I don't know if you have heard about the term or the concept. It's nothing to do with the Queen or with any royalty here in the UK or in any other countries. It's related to soberanía alimentaria, as you will call it in Spanish, which means that people on the ground, local people, local producers, local consumers have control and rights on their own food production and agriculture. But also call us to call for demand for the right to food for all, culturally appropriate food, meaning that you produce what you eat. So what we're doing basically with communities is calling for food sovereignty, which is a big principle, is a framework to work with the governments. It's not just asking for food, it's asking for the right food, it's asking for the right to have local markets, to have the local seeds and water for local farmers. No agribusiness, no to agribusiness, no to GMOs. Because as you see, sometimes we don't know even what we're eating here. And also it's calling for the rights of consumers to decide what they want to eat and the right to eat locally. So we think global and eat locally. That's what we're trying to call. And we are very much trying to join the movement around this concept of food sovereignty. Important because when the framework of food sovereignty came, it came from the South, came from people, from indigenous people. And as you know from these people, nature is not just where you take something. Nature is in contact, direct contact with you. It's not about religion. It's not about, it's actually about the spirituality in the way that we conceive the spirituality. Is a way of living. It's you as a human being, you are not the most important thing on the planet. You are part of the planet. So they, for example, if you think in terms of the shaman or the medicine man in communities, I'm from Colombia, I work with the shaman in Colombia. What they do is to take care of the environment and to see that there are cycles in the nature, that you cannot just break those cycles in order to get more. But more is no good. You can have a balance. The shaman has in their own plot, what they call chakra, is in their own plot, they got the medicine, and the ancient medicine explains something about the cosmovision. It's distributed in such a way that you know where you come and where you go. And also they know how to heal, not just to heal the human, but also to heal the planet. And this is something that in the food sovereignty, when you talk, you need to go back to nature. It's not the concept of let's take care of the green because it's nice. No, it's because it's part of us, it's inside us. So I think this is the beauty as well of the food, the soberanía alimentaria, that is calling us for a different model. It's not profit for profit, it's people for people and the planet for planet.
We collect food from the supermarkets. In this country, a lot of food is getting wasted and thrown away. We collect tons of all nice fruits and vegetables, and we redistribute it back to the community. We're cooking now for 900 people a day, 6 days a week, mostly disadvantaged people, and also students. The food, it's as a sacrifice. It's an offering. All our cooks are volunteers. They do it out of love. So actually, it's like sometimes you might be accused of being amateurs, but the word amateur is coming from the word amour. Means you're doing it out of love. So we make the food as an offering to God, and it's like everything we do, we try and make it as a sacrifice. So that's one thing that everybody needs to eat. So it's food that's spiritual, because it's not something that's done for economic reasons or for greed or for power or for all these different things that you see everywhere in the world we live in. But if you can do it out of love, you then offer it with love to all people, whether you're friends or your enemies or whoever, and it creates a nicer world to live in, you know. So that's where everybody needs to eat. So eating food, particularly that there's no violence involved in, or no exploitation involved in, it's nice, and that's how we go.